97. Elsewhere, the story, though, pockets of optimism. Recently listed tech companies surging over the past few weeks, topping Wall Street price targets and gains among their larger peers. The Renaissance IPO ETF, which tracks the top 80% of newly listed companies based on market cap, up more than 9% over the past month, driven by major gains in names like Dropbox, Snap and Spotify. Joining me now to run through things, I'm really pleased to say, a friend of this program, Santosh Rao, Manhattan Venture Partners Head of Research. Santosh, with all the discussion, the backdrop to a day like today, trade wars, global uncertainty, tension abroad, yet you have this pocket of growth here in the United States and investors willing to chase it. What's going on?
Well, I think there's a fundamental story. The secular trend is up. So you're seeing all these trade wars and all that notwithstanding, there's a perfect confluence of events right now going on in the tech world. The big tech companies are leading the charge, and the small tech companies behind them, they are providing the tools and the plumbing needed for cloud computing, for security, for fintech, for all the other, for streaming services. So these are the future. This is the future. There's a paradigm shift going on in terms of how we consume stuff and how we do how we compute things, and these companies are providing the essential tools for them. So either the big companies will grow by themselves or they will acquire them. So there's an acquisition premium built into these new companies.
That's the thematic side of the story. I just wondered to what extent people have been starved of investable opportunities in public markets. One of the things that you guys essentially do, the day-to-day job, is to provide investable opportunities in private markets, but many of these companies stayed private. They're going public. To what extent was that just built up appetite over a long period of time?
Yeah, I think to a large extent. There's a huge, people are seeing that the most alpha is being created before they go public. So companies are coming down the line before they go public and capturing this alpha way before before they come to market. So I think there's a big demand for these companies. There's a good track record now. You saw Spotify, you saw Dropbox. This kind of feeds into all this. So the demand is just keeps on growing for all these companies.
I want to get your thoughts on the low floats of the new IPOs. Has that been supportive, one, of how well they've performed, and two, what explains the low floats of the new IPOs?
Well, I think that's the way it's been, always been. You come up with a new flow, a small float, that creates momentum, the supply is less, the demand is high, it kind of creates the momentum, and down the road they provide the supply later on. So I think that's totally normal, and that's what's causing this as well. There's a momentum going on, there's a new float, low float rather. So I think overall all these factors are playing in, but I think beyond all that, I think there's a fundamental story, the secular trend is up, all these, like I said, the cloud computing, security, and all these services, that's the next thing. And these companies will grow regardless of what the economy is doing.
So Santosh, when I'm really told how great thematic secular growth stories are, I always ask, what is the price of the story? If you've missed the investable opportunity in the private market, if you missed out on the IPO surge, have you missed out on the story so far, or are you saying there's more to go?
I think there's more to go. The market opportunity is big. It's still untapped. So you see in streaming services, you see in many other cloud computing, it's very untapped. The market opportunity is big, so there's a long way to go. So you'll see some near-term volatility, but in the long term, I think the secular trend is up, like I said, and these companies will perform.
Just to wrap things up, just to drain the emotion of today's price action and the story around trade, do you see any of these global uncertainties damaging investor appetite anytime soon? Because it's hard to find it in your world right now. Do you see it happening anytime soon?
Well, in the near term, you'll see some volatility, like I said. But I think the best thing to do is to diversify. So we manage a diversified fund. You know, you come in here, come in early, and take a good exposure, kind of spread your bets around. So that our fund is doing very well there. So I think that's the way to play this. Don't get any stock-specific risk. Kind of come into a diversified fund like ours and kind of grow there. So I think there's opportunities there. This is the future. There's a paradigm shift, like I said, in many cases, and these companies are playing into that.
Some pockets of optimism still over here in the United States. Santosh Rao of Manhattan Venture Partners, great to catch up with you, sir.